You have a nagging suspicion something isn't right, yet you can't quite put your finger on it. Your gut tells you there's a mismatch, a lie somewhere, but the pieces of the puzzle just don't seem to fit. There's a discordant note in the symphony of information, and it's driving you crazy. But deep down, you know if you could find that dissonance, if you could locate the lie, you would know the truth. So you keep searching, you dig deeper, you need to know the truth. It's a universal human experience. We all have that instinct. And today we're going to look at what happens when powerful entities exploit that instinct to control us, when they weaponize our innate desire to seek harmony. The concept is called Weaponized Cognitive Dissonance. But let's start at the beginning. We all experience cognitive dissonance when our beliefs and our behaviors are at odds. For example, we know smoking is harmful, yet we light up anyway. Or we believe in equality, yet we harbor unconscious racial biases. Now, normally, we resolve this dissonance internally. We change our behavior or we rationalize it. We tell ourselves, it's just one cigarette. It doesn't really matter if I recycle sometimes. But what if external forces exploited this inherent human struggle? What if governments, corporations, or even social groups manipulated our need for internal harmony to control our thoughts and actions? The implications are chilling. Imagine a society where dissonance is a constant companion, where the ground beneath your feet is shifting sand. You try to build a stable structure of beliefs, but every time you do, the earth rumbles and shifts, shaking your foundations. You question whether you're just misinterpreting the data or if there's a malicious force subtly distorting your reality. This is the world when cognitive dissonance becomes a weapon. One of the ways this can manifest is through propaganda. Now, propaganda is not a new tactic. It's been around for centuries, used by rulers to maintain control and influence. Traditional propaganda involves spreading biased or misleading information to sway public opinion. Think of it as a one-way street of information, a highway where facts take a backseat and opinions ride shotgun. But the evolution of technology, especially the rise of social media, has turned this highway into a maze. In today's digital labyrinth, propaganda is fragmented and dispersed. It's no longer a message broadcast from a single tower, but whispers echoing across multiple channels. These whispers may come in the form of opinion pieces disguised as news, viral videos that blend fact with fiction, or even casual conversations that leave you questioning what's genuine and what's been planted. You're in a room full of people, each holding a piece of the puzzle, and none of them fit together. Imagine you're trying to plan a trip. You open your laptop, eager to explore new destinations. But instead of finding unbiased travel blogs or informative travel guides, you're confronted by a cacophony of reviews, some praising a certain destination, others tearing it down. You read about how amazing a city is, only to stumble upon another article highlighting its pitfalls. With each click, you're fed a new piece of the puzzle, leaving you more confused than when you started. This manipulation of information is not just annoying, it's insidious. It's a calculated move to not just shape your opinion, but to keep you perpetually uncertain. Now, the effects go beyond mere confusion. When we're bombarded with conflicting information, our ability to form an independent judgment gets dulled. We become more susceptible to suggestion, more inclined to follow the path laid out for us, even if we're not consciously aware of it. Another method of inducing cognitive dissonance is by limiting access to information. By controlling what information reaches us, authorities can create a selective echo chamber, leaving us blissfully unaware of alternative viewpoints or crucial details. It's like looking through a funhouse mirror. Our reflection is distorted, presenting a skewed version of reality. But the master stroke of this manipulation comes when those in power offer themselves as the solution to the very confusion they've engineered. Imagine you're in a crowded room, everyone murmuring about a looming threat, an unseen danger that hangs heavy in the air. The speaker confidently strides onto the platform, offering a reassuring smile. He promises clarity in a sea of uncertainty. His words are a balm to your troubled mind. You lean in, eager to hear his solution. And he delivers, laying out a plan that seems foolproof, promising to banish the shadows and create a new dawn of certainty. But what if that speaker is the architect of the confusion? What if he's the puppet master who's been pulling the strings, orchestrating the very fear he's claiming to quell. That's the chilling twist when cognitive dissonance becomes a weapon. It's no longer about seeking understanding, it's about feigning it. When dissonance is weaponized, it's a strategic tool for maintaining power and control. By mastering the art of dissonance, authoritarian regimes can keep their citizens perpetually confused, making it difficult for them to form an accurate picture of reality. This manipulation becomes the norm, the air that citizens breathe. They wake up every day and choose to navigate this world of manufactured uncertainty. A perfect example of this is propaganda that plays on emotions rather than logic. Take, for instance, a campaign that uses fear to convince its audience that a particular group poses a grave threat to their way of life. Think of posters with stark images or jingoistic slogans that instill fear of an enemy. The goal is not to inform, but to intimidate. Faced with this emotional onslaught, people may not stop and logically dissect the claims. Instead, they might hastily embrace the proposed solution, whatever it is, just to alleviate that immediate sense of unease. But dissonance doesn't just manifest externally, it can also brew internally, born from our own choices and biases. We all grapple with this from time to time. Maybe you've committed to a course of action, say supporting a particular political candidate. As the campaign trail progresses and you learn more about their policies, you start to feel uneasy. Their stance on issues you care about seems increasingly untenable. Your dissonance grows, the belief that they're the best choice versus the reality of their questionable views. This internal dissonance can be so uncomfortable that we cling to our initial beliefs, even when confronted with evidence to the contrary. We find ways to justify our choices, rationalizing them until they fit neatly within our self-image. The dissonance fades, and we convince ourselves that we were right all along. But imagine this happening on a national scale. When a leader steers a nation into a costly and seemingly unending war, or enacts policies that have devastating consequences, citizens may find themselves caught in a web of cognitive dissonance. They might have initially supported the war or the policy, believing in the promises made by their leaders. But as the situation drags on and the cost becomes unbearable, they struggle with the dissonance between their support and the harsh reality on the ground. Instead of confronting this dissonance, the government could escalate, doubling down on its position and portraying anyone who questions it as the enemy. The dissonance becomes a tool to keep the population divided, to turn neighbor against neighbor. It's a strategy straight out of a dystopian novel, but it's not unheard of in real life. Consider a government that uses nationalist sentiments to manipulate its citizens. It could propagate a narrative of national pride and superiority, urging people to view the nation as flawless, infallible. The dissonance arises when events expose cracks in this facade, when the nation makes mistakes or commits atrocities. Citizens may find themselves torn between their love for their country and the reality of its flaws. Such cognitive dissonance can lead to the suppression of dissenting voices, the silencing of those who dare to question the official narrative. After all, to admit the country's flawed is to admit one's own misguided patriotism. In such a climate, people may feel compelled to conform, to suppress their doubts and reinforce the illusion for fear of being labeled unpatriotic. So, how can we protect ourselves from the dangers of weaponized cognitive dissonance? One crucial defense is media literacy. In a world where information is abundant, our ability to critically evaluate sources is paramount. Recognizing bias, understanding persuasive techniques, and cross-referencing information are not just skills, they're survival tactics. Another essential strategy is to cultivate intellectual humility. This means acknowledging the limits of our knowledge and remaining open to different perspectives. When we're genuinely curious, when we approach information with an open mind, we're less likely to fall prey to manipulation. But perhaps the most vital skill in this battle is the willingness to confront dissonance, to experience the discomfort of uncertainty. When we learn to sit with that unease, to grapple with ambiguity, we reclaim our autonomy, become less susceptible to those who want to exploit our desire for resolution. In conclusion, weaponized cognitive dissonance is a troubling aspect of propaganda that often goes unnoticed. By understanding its mechanisms, however, we can better equip ourselves to navigate the complexities of information warfare. Whether it's propaganda that preys on our emotions or government policies that leave us disillusioned, We must learn to identify the signs, to question the narratives, and to remain steadfast in our pursuit of truth. Our ability to resist depends on our awareness, our critical thinking skills, and our willingness to embrace uncertainty. But as long as we stay vigilant, we can ensure that our minds remain our own, impervious to those who seek to weaponize our innate desire for harmony.